So, welcome back to another deck profile video. Apologies in the delay for this one. Sadly, I've been a bit ill, and with the little one, sadly, I haven't had a good opportunity to sort of record a video. So, this one is a slightly delayed build for the Zephagamon line from the more so recent starter decks that were released, but we'll just dive straight into it. So, first up, in regards to the eggs, we go with four of the Fluffy Mons from ST18. Its inherited effect: when attacking once per turn, you may suspend one other Digimon with as much or less DP as this one. So you notice as it says one other Digimon, so it's both your opponent's as well as your own, which is actually quite handy for what this deck actually likes to do. So we'll dive into that a little bit more as we progress. Next up, we go to our rookies. Now, we're starting off with two Pomumons from BT9. It's an all turns effect. Players can't play Digimon by effects. Sadly, this card is not searchable within the deck, unless you're using the training cards or the memory boost cards. But it's a good 2-off to have in the current climate of the game. So yeah, it's definitely worked wonders for me. It was definitely the MVP during the Halllween event tournament here in the UK. Next up, we've got two Muchomons from ST18. This is an all turns effect once per turn. When an effect suspends this Digimon, one of your Digimon with Avian or Bird in any of its traits, or the Vortex Warriors trait gets plus 3000 DP until the end of the opponent's turn, and its inherited effect automatically gives your Digimon piercing. Again, a very solid card to have if you don't end up finding the Tamer, which we'll discuss shortly. Next up, we're running a 4 of Terramon from ST18. It's an on-play card. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. Add 1 card with Avian or Bird in any of its traits, and 1 card with the Vortex Warriors or Liberator trait among them. You add those cards to the hand, and then the rest of them go to the bottom of the deck. Its inherited effect is this Digimon gets 2000 DP on your turn. It's basically a turn 1 card, but with the amount of searching that you do have in this deck is actually quite handy, especially as you'll be playing out some Digimon from effects. So it's just a solid 4-off to have. As for the last set of rookies in this deck, we're running another 4 Terramons, this time from EX7. It has a your turn effect. When this Digimon would digivolve into a Digimon card with Avian or Bird in any of its traits, you can reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. Its inherited effects in all turns once per turn. When this Digimon deletes your opponent's Digimon in battle, you gain 1 memory. Again, it's a solid 4-off to have in this deck, just particularly because of the reduction effect, but gaining a memory when you delete something in battle is actually quite handy as well, and you'll be doing a lot of swinging at the end of your turn with this deck. So yeah, it's definitely beneficial. Now, next up, we go to our champions. So the first 2-off that I'm running is Kokotorimon. I would like to run the promo Galemons instead. However, I haven't got my hands on those at the moment, and this is actually a solid 2-off to have in this deck anyway. So essentially it comes with blocker. Otherwise, it's inherited. It's much like Muchomon. It's got piercing. So yeah, it's definitely a very good substitute to have if you haven't managed to get your hands on the promo Galemons. But otherwise, it's no huge loss. Next up, we're running a 4-off of 4 of the Galemons from ST18. This one comes with a security effect where essentially you may play 1 card with the Liberator trait and a play cost of 4 or less from your hand or trash without paying the cost. It includes the Liberator trait, so that can also include your Tamers, as well as some of your option cards, depending on the ones you have. But yeah, this is a very good card, and I'm definitely finding it helpful having 4-off. Next up, and just rounding up our champions, another 4 Galemons. This one's from EX7. It has a when digivolving effect. If you have one or fewer Tamers, you may play one Shoto Kazama from your hand without paying the cost. Its inherited effect is much like one of the Terramons, but when this Digimon deletes your opponent's Digimon in battle, you gain one memory. Just to clarify that both the Terramon and the Galemon are both all turns inherited effects, so it's not just your turn. But that just rounds up our champions. We could just run 10 in total. Next up, we have our ultimate level Digimon. Now, for a tech, I'm just running a one-of Rapidmon from ST17. The card is just stupid good in general, especially for any sort of green colour deck, I imagine. But it comes with both an on-play and when Digivolving effect. You de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Then if you have a green Tamer, until the end of your opponent's turn, your opponent's effects can't delete this Digimon or return it to the hand or deck. Its inherited effect is also an all turns effect, but once per turn, when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, you trash the top card of their security stack. So it's a good one-off to have. Sadly, it's not searchable unless you, again, you're using the training or the memory cards, but it's just a solid one-off to have, and it has come up from time to time. However, you realistically want to be seeing you using the core line for this deck, which I'm about to show you. So next up, we have a 4-of Grand Galemon from EX7. This card is just stupid good, but it has Vortex. Now, if you're not familiar with this effect, it is brand new, but at the end of your turn, this Digimon may attack an opponent's Digimon. With this effect, it can attack the same turn that it was played. When Digivolving, you may suspend one Digimon. If this effect suspended your Digimon, this Digimon isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon until the end of their turn. Its inherited effect is a your turn once per turn, but when this Digimon attacks your opponent's Digimon, this Digimon may unsuspend. It's good for the Vortex element as a whole. It's a mandatory 4-of, I find, especially as the Tamers will give your Digimon blocker, and piercing, but it just allows you to set up defensively, ready for the next turn. Next up, and just rounding off our ultimate Digimon, but we've got 3 more Grand Galemons, but this one's from the ST18 set. It comes with both an on-play and when Digivolving effect, but you suspend one Digimon. If this effect suspended one of your own, you may play one Digimon card with the avian or bird trait and 3000 DP or less from your hand without paying the cost. Its inherited effect is very same to that of the other Grand Galemon shown. As, your turn once per turn, but when this Digimon attacks your opponent's Digimon, it may unsuspend. So it's a good lineup to have. I decided to take out one of the ST18 Grand Gales just because it's not nearly as strong as the EX7 version, but just having a one-of Rapidmon is actually quite useful anyway. Now, moving on to our Megas. So I'm only running 6 in total, but they're all pretty much the same Digimon with just 2 different versions. First one, we're running the Zephagamon from the Starter Deck 18. This again has Vortex. It's got a when Digivolving effect. You suspend one Digimon, then unsuspend one Digimon. And it also has an all turns once per turn effect. When any Digimon unsuspends, for the turn, this Digimon isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon and gets 3000 DP. So it essentially protects itself before you make that Vortex swing if you use the combination right with the Tamer. So yeah, it's a good 4-of to have. I was running an initial sort of 3-3 split, but found this one's actually a very good mega level Digimon for this deck. The next one I'm about to show you, whilst it is aggressive, it's also a more defensive card. And I didn't really see why it needed to be a 3-3 split after some deck testing. So moving on to that next one. So I'm running a 2-of Zephagamon from EX7. So this one comes with security attack +1 and Vortex, and that's where the aggressive element comes in. It's when Digivolving is also a when attacking effect as well, and it's not once per turn, but you suspend one Digimon. If this effect suspended one of your Digimon, you return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon back to the bottom of their deck. It also comes with a rule trait, but it also includes Bird Dragon as part of its type. So not only can you search it as part of Vortex Warriors or Liberator, but you can also search for the bird element, in which most of your cards can search. So it's a good card. It's a very aggressive card, you know, to some degree, but on the play testing that I've managed to complete so far, it's definitely not a free split for me. I definitely use this card for more defensive situations, but I do prefer the Starter Deck 18. Now that one, I mean, might be up for heavy debate there, but yeah, that's just my personal preference. Next up, we'll go for our Tamers. So we'll start with two of Shoto Kazama from the promo set. Its on play is you may play one Terramon from your hand without paying the cost. So it just goes very well with the Searcher, or if you're setting up for a reduced cost later on. But it's a your turn once per turn effect as well. When any of your Digimon would Digivolve into an avian or bird, in any of their traits, you can suspend this Tamer to gain one memory. Security effect, naturally, as all Tamers have it, you just play it without paying the cost. So it's a good 2-off to have. Sadly, I'm not running the memory Tamer, the one that sets you to 3. I believe that's from the Structure Deck 18 as well. I just don't think it's a very solid card, and again, it could be heavy for debate, but in all the testing that I've done, it's just not a card I would particularly want over this one or over the next 4 I'm about to show you, which pretty much everyone's playing. The next 4, Shoto Kazama from EX7. Quite possibly one of the most popular Tamers out there now. But it's a cost of 3 to play. Start of main phase effect. If your opponent has a Digimon, you gain a memory. End of turn effect is by suspending this Tamer, one of your Digimon gains piercing and blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. And if it has Vortex Warrior's trait, it unsuspends. So again, it goes very nicely with the other ones. Well, pretty much all of your Digimon. But, you know, if you're already suspended at the end of a turn, you're going to use the end of turn effect to unsuspend and swing again at someone else, your opponent's Digimon. And, you know, you can just do some really stupid stuff in this deck. But yeah, it is what it is. This is a ridiculous Tamer, and the fact that it's being used in quite a few different deck types, and it's, you know, you don't even have to be green equivalent. It's just there to give one of your Digimon piercing and blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. So it's just a ridiculously strong Tamer. Lastly, we'll move on to our option cards. So the first 2 are more for defensive reasons, but 2 giant missiles. This card is just, in my opinion, it's one of the strongest green defensive cards. It's a cost of 8 to play, but you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then you return one of their suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck, and then one of their Digimon can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. I find it's a good board staller for at least a turn if you are struggling to get the pieces you need. And I found without any sort of real defensive options in this deck, sometimes you could brick quite heavily. I say sometimes, with a pinch of salt there. But yeah, just 2 of these is a solid deal breaker for me. Next up, we run 2 agility trainings. Quite frankly, you can run 4. I've opted to run 2, just for personal preference really, but you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck and you add 1 green card among them to your hand. You return the other card to the bottom of the deck. Its delay effect is that when one of your Digimon would Digivolve into a green Digimon card from your hand, its Digivolution cost is reduced by 2. The other 2 that I'm running are that of Green Mem Boost. Again, personal preference. I quite like the split and the option of having one or the other. But this one lets you reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. You add 1 green Digimon card among them, and you place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Then this card goes to your battle area. It's delay effect. Instead of reducing Digimon costs by 2, instead you gain 2 memory. But yeah, again, it's just personal preference really, but you could opt to run either 4 of the training or 4 of the memory boost, however you see fit really. Now, the last 2 cards is more just for budget reasons. Otherwise, I would definitely swap them out for Vortex Resonance. But I'm running 2 of the Digimon Liberator from the promo set. Again, quite easily take these out and put in 2 of the Vortex Resonance cards from EX7. But yeah, due to budget reasons, that's what I'm working with. The main effect for this particular card is that you reveal the top 3 cards of the deck. You add 1 card with a liberated trait among them in your hand. To your hand rather, and then you return the rest to the bottom of the deck. Then you may play 1 card with a liberator trait and a play cost of 3 or less from your hand without paying the cost. So again, it's not just limited to Digimon, but it also applies to your Shotos, or it could potentially play another one of these. It's got a liberator in its text. So yeah, the options really are not necessarily too limited. And it's really surprising at just how strong that particular card actually is. Vortex Resonance, if you're not familiar with that particular card, it's essentially a lot like Hidden Potential, but I'll post it on the screen now just so you can have a read for yourselves. But it's a very good card to have in this deck. Definitely a 1 or a 2 of. I probably wouldn't run any more than that. But that's an easy solution to swap out for the Digimon Liberator. So if you are on a budget, by all means, I would certainly recommend using this card or trying to maximize on either of your training or memory boosts. But that's it. That's my 50 card deck. You'll obviously notice I'm not running any level 7s. Personally, I don't think it's needed. But there are, naturally level 7s in the form of Quartzmon or Imperial Dramon Paladin mode that you can throw in here just for wicked banter. But yeah, that's it. That's my 50 cards. In terms of anything alternative that I would recommend, I don't really think I've changed too much to this, if I'm brutally honest. I mean, you got the Fluffymon from EX7 that you can use as an egg. Instead, I believe that one gives you memory gain in battle as well. Yeah, it does. In terms of the level 3s, just mix and match really. There's a lot of green cards that you could throw into this. Palmon has seen some gameplay in this deck as well with the loose suspension effect that it comes with. I believe that's Palmon from BT 14 or 15. But otherwise, I really wouldn't recommend much else. In terms of the level 4s, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, you could get rid of the 2 Kokotori Mons and replace them with the promo Gale Mons, which seems to be the case for a lot of the Zephagamon decks. In terms of the level 5s, I personally wouldn't change much about it. The Rapidmon is just there for attack, but otherwise, realistically, you're using the Grand Gale Mons. Level 6 wise, the only other recommendation I would probably throw into the mix is that of Mega Gargomon Ace, but it's such a dirty card, I'm not throwing it in this deck personally. I'm happy to keep that in my Rapidmon. It doesn't get much healthier than that for that card really. Tamer wise, stick to the Shotos, just to maximize the efforts of most of your other cards. And it's reliable in terms of searching for it as well, especially with the Tero and Digimon Liberator cards. Option card wise, you could throw in pretty much any green related option card in this deck and it'll be fine. It's nothing that I'd personally recommend to swap out for. Like I said, Vortex Resonance is an easy swap for Digimon Liberator, or vice versa, depending on your preference. But yeah, realistically, you could throw in any sort of green defensive card into this, or just sort of mix and match the ratios with your memory boosts or your training cards. But that's pretty much it. But that's it for the profile. As always, guys and gals, you know, thanks for watching the videos. I know this one's been a bit of a delay, purely, you know, for personal reasons. Hopefully there'll be more coming soon. We'll obviously see how things play out over the next couple of weeks. And in theory, we've got our special booster 2.0 releasing this Tuesday. So I'd like to think that there's going to be some deck profiles coming out for that set, even though I'm not a very hybrid related kind of player. So even if I don't have the cards, it may well be that I'll just create videos or put up posts on the community pages just with my versions of the decks, just for your benefit. But otherwise, yeah, as always, thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that little subscribe button in the corner to support the channel. And by all means, I'm always happy to see comments in the videos below, just to see what people would certainly recommend. All of it is always taken on board, and I like to mix and match, you know, my deck types here and there. So if there are cards that I certainly see in those comments that I think, oh, actually that might work, I'm always up for testing that theory. So but yeah, thanks again as always, and take care.